Welcome back. You're still watching All Angles here on eNCA. Of course, we continue with our breaking news story. Ntuthuko Shoba found guilty of the premeditated murder of his girlfriend and mother of his unborn child, Tshegofatso Pule, today at the South Gauteng High Court. Let me tell you some of the things that Judge Wilson said before handing down his judgment. He said, "I do not accept that Shoba did not know Malepane." He said, "I do accept that Malepane's evidence is clear and satisfactory. I find it unsatisfactory that Shoba didn't recognize Malepane on the night in question. Shoba was not worried that Pule was getting into a vehicle with a drunk man that he did not know, even though he knew that Tshegofatso Pule was carrying his unborn child." As you can see on our screens there, we've got the protesters who spent the entire morning outside court, obviously hoping for a guilty verdict, and we're joined by our reporter Mnchunu, who spent the morning with them outside. Manqoba, obviously some signs of jubilation from those who are gathered outside after finding out that Shoba has been found guilty of premeditated murder.
Indeed, Masiko, that's what we're seeing here outside of the Johannesburg High Court. The minute that these demonstrators got news or got wind that Ntuthuko Shoba had been found guilty, there was loud singing, there was jubilation, there was shouting, there was ululation here from these demonstrators. Some of them who have been with this case since it started in June 2020. I see some of those gender-based violence activists that were in court, present in court, calling, of course, for justice to be served in this particular matter. So it is good news for many that have been here, who've been following this particular matter. They've been saying that they want Ntuthuko Shoba to be found guilty of murder because they say the way in which Tshegofatso Pule was killed was so brutal, and that her death should not be in vain. So those are some of the messages that we're hearing today as people are welcoming this particular decision. And again, you can hear that song that has been sung by many of the gender-based violence, Senzeni Na, what have we done? And this is a song that you've heard reverberating throughout some of the cases that you've seen in court. Let's just listen in a bit.
Emotional song, this by the activists. As you said, it means what have we done? And I think for the women who are gathered here, that is exactly what they mean in terms of gender-based violence, which of course has been named another pandemic in our country. I wonder if you'd be able to speak to any of them. I see one of them is quite emotional. She's wiping the tears from her eyes. I see there. Manqoba, just to try and speak to at least one or two of them for us, just to find out from them, you know, the emotions of what they're feeling today.
Indeed, Masiko. In fact, I'm going to ask Peggy Kubeka, who's from the Department of Safety here in Gauteng, the Gender-Based Violence Brigade. Sorry, Peggy, you, of course, have been saying that this verdict is quite welcome. It is a very good verdict and a verdict that you've been expecting.
The law has taken his course. He's been pleaded guilty and he must go and rot in jail. We don't have time, we don't have space for murderers. I think Shoba must go and rot in jail. The community members, the family, the members of the Department of Community Safety and other organizations are so grateful by the decision of the court. Ukuthi Shoba must be charged and he must rot in jail. We are so happy about that. May the soul of Tshegofatso Pule rest in peace, because we won't see her again because of the hand of a man that killed him, that killed her, and she must rot in jail. So, thank you.
And in terms of sentencing, what are your expectations as gender-based violence activists? Of course, it must send a deterrent of some sort.
Wherever we are as gender-based violence brigades, we know that we make changes And the mindset of the court is changing, because really, what is happening today, we are so happy as members of gender-based violence brigades. We are so happy. Into esilwelayo isebenzekile, and he must rot in jail. We are so happy as the Department of Community Safety. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much for speaking to us. I'm going to try and speak to more people, Masikho, just to get reaction on the ruling. Of course, there's one that I saw who was earlier a bit emotional, but I think she's inside the crowd now and we cannot speak to her, but we're just going to try and speak perhaps to more people about today's ruling. And let me get you, Sifami, just on your reaction to today's judgment by the court.
I can't hear you.
The reaction to what happened in the court, the guilty verdict.
We're very happy. Aren't you guys very happy? Justice must be served. Justice must be served.
Sijabulile ngalento le eyenzakele. Sesiyabona manje ukuthi justice eyenzakala South Africa, and thank you very much to the prostitutes about everything. Ngabe ngasuya, I don't think ngabe Tshegofatso ne peace uzolala ngoxolo naye lapha khona. Makahambe.
Can you for yourself? Many people here quite excited. I just want to move this way. I did see some members from the Tshegofatso Pule Foundation making their way.
Reacting to what happened outside court. In the meantime, let's go to Silindelo Masikane, who I believe is with the National Prosecuting Authority. Sli, this obviously is something for the NPA to also celebrate, especially when it comes to the fight against GBV in our country. A lot of the times we talk about, very few convictions when it comes to crime.
Certainly so. I think this is a big win, not only for the fight against gender-based violence, but for the National Prosecuting Authority as well. This was not an easy case for them to get actually a guilty verdict judgment on. There was a lot of evidence that was brought before the judge to corroborate the version of the convicted killer implicating Ntuthuko Shoba in this particular matter. And we know, of course, that there was a lot of investigations taking place in order to be able to secure this conviction. But I am now joined by Mnchunu, who represents the NPA. Of course, a win against gender-based violence, but of course, justice seemingly served today.
Indeed, yes, justice was served. We need to applaud, obviously, the work done by Captain Mbete, working closely with Advocate Fakhri Mohammed in ensuring a successful prosecution. Also, we need to applaud the strategy that they used in securing this conviction, because we remember that we first had Malipani, who pleaded guilty and was sentenced, and thereafter he had to turn state witness after he had implicated Shoba as the mastermind behind this murder.
And so we look forward to the sentencing now on the 10th of May.
Indeed, yes. We are hoping as the NPA that the court will dispense a sentence that sends a clear message that there is no place in society for those who perpetrate gender-based violence. And therefore, we will be arguing for life imprisonment as the NPA, as Shoba was found guilty of premeditated murder.
Thank you so much, Spendi. All right, Masikho, that is Mnchunu from the National Prosecuting Authority. I do see Tshegofatso Pule's uncle. I'm just going to grab him as soon as I can. However, of course, Acting Judge Stewart Wilson really going into detail around why he found Ntuthuko Shoba guilty, going through the facts of the case, going through the fact that despite the fact that the state was relying on the evidence of Malepane, the convicted killer, that wasn't the only evidence that was brought before court. And in fact, he pointed out that if the state had really solely relied on that evidence, they certainly wouldn't have secured the guilty verdict judgment today. But he said that there was a lot of corroborating evidence coming from cell phone records, coming from the messages or the cell phone records rather, and the phones that were used to communicate between Shoba and Malepane. Malepane, as well as Tshegofatso Pule as well, also stating that Shoba didn't really display any kind of remorse, and in fact his version of events of what took place on the 4th of June just didn't make sense. And in fact, speaking about the fact that when Musgaise Malepane had come to pick up Tshegofatso Pule, Tshegofatso Pule did notice that Malepane was smelling of alcohol, even saying to him that you're sloshed, and that didn't seem to concern Ntuthuko Shoba. So that raised some flags for the judge, but also saying that this case really wasn't easy in terms of looking at the facts, in terms of ensuring that it doesn't matter what he believes in terms of Shoba's guilty or Shoba being guilty or not guilty, but what was brought before him was the evidence that really showed that he did have a case to answer to. But as I see, the uncle of Tshegofatso Pule is still speaking to some of our other media colleagues, but he is ready to speak to us now. I'm joined by Dumisang-Katake. It's been quite an emotional past 2 years, not even 3 months of the trial, but 2 years that that's taken us to get to this point. As a family, I can imagine the emotions that are running through everyone that was here today.
All of us were emotional and are still are. It's nothing to do with whether Shoba has been found guilty, but it's the experience as a family that we went through. We can take it from the moment Tshegofatso was discovered hanging on a tree to today's moment. And even after Mr. Malepane was convicted and sentenced to 20 years, we still had our suspicion that Ntuthuko Shoba had something to do with the murder and the killing of Tshegofatso. Today, those suspicions were confirmed as a fact.
Now, of course, I think healing can finally begin for the family. I know we're still looking towards the sentencing proceedings, but what's your biggest, I think, takeaway as a family in terms of listening to what the judge had to say?
That he believed that Shoba was involved. That's all we wanted to know as a family. For the judge to pronounce that, Mr. Shoba, you are guilty of premeditated murder. Nothing more, nothing less than that.
And as we look forward to the sentencing, as a family, what would you like to hear?
It's a bit of a conundrum. He should get life. But I'll be honest with you, it's not going to bring back Tshegofatso. Of course, it's going to serve as a deterrent to other would-be perpetrators of the gender-based violence, particularly the femicide. But the family will still have a chance to go to talk to him in whichever correctional facility they may place him. We don't have that opportunity with Tshegofatso. If we want to converse and tell Tshegofatso whatever, we have to visit her gravesite and talk to the tomb. And it's something that us as a family, we're going to live with it for the rest of our lives.
Thank you so much. All right. Maseko, that is Dumisang-Katake, Tshegofatso Pule's uncle, expressing just some of the sentiments that the family is feeling right now. I did try and speak to Ntuthuko Shoba's family that was also in court today. However, since the beginning of the trial, they have been refusing media interviews. So at this point, judgment has been handed down. Ntuthuko Shoba has been found guilty of premeditated murder, and on the 10th of May, we are expecting sentencing proceedings to begin.
All right, Silindelo Masikane, obviously inside court. We're continuing with our coverage of this case. As you can see, those visuals with Manqoba Mnchunu outside court. Very emotional scenes there, Manqoba. Even men are crying about the verdict that we heard today. Tell us more. What are they telling you?
Indeed, Masikane, and this is here the family of Tshegofatso Pule that is here outside court. Of course, they've been crying this morning. they've been hoping for some sort of closure and justice from this particular court. And we did see many of them hugging and really crying. And I guess it's from relief that they are now a step closer to reaching that point of closure. I see Tshegofatso Pule's aunt is right here. I'm going to try. I don't know if she will be able to talk to us. Auntie Nuku, I don't know if you can talk to us. Manqoba Mnchunu, we are live on eNCA. How are you feeling, Ma? You must be overwhelmed and happy.
Yo, ke pelo ya ka e wetse but a ke khotsofala ke batla wa itse gore ke a rote in jail because on gets only one girl amongst 3 boys. Ki one ya no a sana ngwanyana ke nna ngwanyana ke di one control o mesa pile mon le batsadi ba tse go ba robetseng teng le bone ba bona gore ke lwanile race ena until e fele race ena.
Gibonile Ma, you were crying just now. You were very emotional. What went through you when you heard the judge saying that Ntuthuko Shoba is guilty?
Yo ke le ka thaba gagolo gore o guilty marana nna ntsa ganela gore yena ha guilty itse ha re o guilty ka re Jesu wa sebetsa modimo wa bereka le ditapelo tsa rona.
And you are the one that actually nurtured Tshegofatso. You took care of her when her mother died. So for you as a family, is this a step closer to getting any sort of closure and justice?
Not exactly.
Because it doesn't matter how long this bastard goes away. The fact of the matter is we have lost not only a daughter but children. We are grandmothers without a grandchild, grandmothers without grandchildren, and that matters a lot. But guys, we thank you. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for everything that you have done for us from day one up to maybe the last day when we get sentenced.
So it's a happy day for you, Ma, today. But obviously there's still the sentencing that still we have to go through. What are you expecting there?
You know, if I was a judge, I was going to give Shoba 8 years to give lessons out there. But unfortunately, no parole. Unfortunately, I'm not a judge. But we'll take what will come from the mouth of the judge.
Well, thank you for speaking to us, Nuku. And indeed, we can see Masiko here, the family quite emotional. They're also quite happy. They're relieved that Ntuthuko Shoba has been found guilty. I just want to take you around as well, just to show you there's a big protest, a big celebration that is happening here outside court. And I can tell you that many of the people here who we spoke to earlier on saying that this is the verdict that they were hoping for. This is the verdict that they were hoping for from this court, because they believe that Ntuthuko Shoba was guilty for killing Tshegofatso Pule. So these are the scenes here outside the Johannesburg High Court. And I'm trying now, Masiko, just to move this way, just to speak to one of the gentlemen who I know was at the scene. He's the gentleman that had made the grisly discovery on the 5th of June, a gentleman that found Tshegofatso Pule hanging from the tree, who then made all effort to try and reach his family. Tsepo Modibe, if I can just ask you, how are you feeling right now? Of course, for you, this is very crucial. You were there when Tshegofatso Pule was found on that tree in Durban Deep. How are you feeling today?
Justice has been served. Smele is sentencing. I'm so happy. As a country, we are going somewhere. This shows for we are going somewhere. I'm happy. I'm delighted. I'm happy for a family, man. As I said, I'm happy for the women of this country. Finally, it's a way of showing them there's hope for them in cases like this.
You were telling me that you're still traumatized by this incident. For you, it's still, playing in your mind even now.
Yes, it's still playing in my mind in a sense of, no, I'm picturing it and I'm doing my own judgment. If I was the judge also, I would definitely hand out for he's guilty. I'm still traumatized also. There's no cancelling it. I can't cancel out.
Okay. All right, you are also there, Mike Ntawunga. How are you feeling today?
Hey, I feel excited because of the bastard is inside now. The law has taken its course. I'm happy after 2 years that we've been running left and right. I'm so happy. There's nothing that I can say. I'm happy for women. I'm happy for the justice. It shows that the justice we can rely on it at the moment. Come 10 May, we say double life sentences.
So how was it for you on that day? I mean, you made that visit discovery as well. Both of you were together when...
It was traumatizing. I was not happy, but now I'm happy. I'm okay now. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Well, those are the two gentlemen that had found Tshegofatso Pule's body, just reacting to the judgment that was given this morning by the court. Well, many people quite excited at the fact that Ntuthuko Shoba has been found guilty, and celebrations are certainly continuing here outside court.
All right, Manqoba, Mnchunu outside court, and of course earlier we had Silindelo Masikane speaking to the uncle inside the High Court.